Alright, we're gonna make this simple animation of shell logo in Procreate step by step, so let's get started. I got the logo and the word from Google, of course, inserted as a picture, and we're gonna divide this logo into 3 different sections. So what I'm gonna do is take this yellow and insert a layer on top of that, lower the opacity of my logo, and just trace the yellow using a technical blend. And I'm gonna leave the 2 triangles out because I want them as a separate section. You can of course either do that or auto select actually the yellow part and copy paste it into a separate layer, and you will have the yellow part alone. But when I tried doing that, I could still see the red part and I had to erase it, and I just thought this way is simpler. And after you finish tracing the shape, you're just gonna fill it in with the same yellow, create another layer, and do the same thing for the triangles that we left out. Now I'm gonna go back to my logo and max the opacity again, just because now I want the red part. So I'm gonna duplicate my logo and take that red and just fill in the whole thing. I'm gonna hide all the other layers just because I wanna deal with this exact one and see the red I'm creating, and just erase the yellow with my red. And now that I have all 3 sections, I'm gonna create my own logo using my drawings because my drawing isn't 100% accurate. So I'm gonna delete the picture, the original logo, and duplicate all my layers to make my own logo as a finished product. So merge these layers into your new logo, and there you have it. Well, let's start with the animation. Go to Action in Canvas, turn on Animation Assist. Go to Settings and lower the onion skin frames to 3 and the frames per second to 20. That's what I want in this animation. It's up to you, of course, depends on what you're working on. Now, first of all, I'm gonna work with this yellow shape that we created at first, and I'm gonna make it the first layer and hide all the other layers because I want to do this effect. So this is the direction I want my shell to move. What we're gonna do is work backwards. So I have the final product and I want my layers to reach this point. So I'm gonna duplicate it and go back a layer, use the eraser and erase a part of the logo. I'm gonna do very small changes at first and then make them bigger as we go further. Just because I don't want to draw the logo and move forward, I wanna erase it and move backward. This way it's easier and you make sure that you're not changing the logo very much. You have the final product and you just want to reach it. So duplicate, go back a layer and erase, and as you can move forward, just make them bigger. So now I'm erasing a full one of these guys. So I'm just gonna keep doing that until I finish the entire logo. To make the animation kind of smoother, what I do is make smaller changes at the beginning and at the end. So at the final one, I'm gonna do half just as I did for the first one because it looks smoother that way. Now let's take a look at that, and I think that looks pretty decent. Now I'm gonna duplicate my final layer, the final product, and I want to group it with the triangles I left out. If you want multiple layers to appear in one frame, you have to group them. And now I'm gonna work to reach this point. This is the direction of my triangles, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna work our way backward. I'm just gonna rename this group just to know that this is the final product I want to reach. You don't have to, and I think this is kind of dumb, but I did it anyway. But now I have this final product that I want to reach. Again, duplicate, go back a layer. You have to pick the layer of your triangles, grab your eraser, and here you can do something to make your life way easier. I'm gonna go to Actions, turn on Drawing Guide, and choose Symmetry. Place it in the middle and make sure, or you will see that this layer is assisted, as you can see. And now you can just erase one triangle and it will happen to this other one. Now you can make sure that they are erased and are moving exactly the same. So as we did before, duplicate, go back a layer, choose your layer, which is the triangles, and make smaller changes at first, make them bigger in the middle, and go back to small changes at the end. You have to pick the layer you're working on because it won't let you erase unless you choose one. And now when we finish, we're going to take a look at that, and I think that looks pretty good. Now I don't need the drawing guide anymore, so I'm gonna just turn it off, go to my layers and just make the place a little cleaner. So I'm just closing the groups. And now I'm gonna duplicate my final layer just because I want to add the red part now. I'm gonna rename it Final 2 just to differentiate it. You don't have to do that, of course. And now we're gonna do the same thing. I want the red to fall down, so I'm gonna duplicate, go back a layer, choose the red layer and use the transfer tool to move it a little bit upward. So as I said before, smaller changes at first and smaller changes in the opacity. So here I'm gonna do 95% opacity. Now again, duplicate, go back a layer, choose the red layer and transfer a bit more, make bigger changes as you're moving, and 90% opacity, and do that 90%, 80%, 60%, 40%, 20%, maybe 10%. It depends on your movement. But here you have to pick the layer, because if you don't pick the red layer, it will allow you to transfer the entire group or the entire shape, and you don't want the yellow to move. So you have to make sure you are choosing this red layer, because believe me, you will forget sometimes. Now don't forget smaller changes at the end, so 10% opacity, and I think that's enough. I don't have to lift it anymore, and the final product looks good. Now again, I'm gonna close my group just to make it look better and duplicate my final product, because now I want to add the drips. So we're gonna add a layer on top of the red, rename it drips, just to make sure that this is the layer we're gonna work on. And I'm gonna turn on drawing assist and drawing guide, because again, I want the symmetry thing here because it's easier, right? Using a technical pen, I'm gonna draw smaller changes as if the red part is dripping. But here, when you duplicate your layer, you're gonna move forward normal, because you don't have a final product here. You're drawing the final product, so you move forward. And I'm gonna turn on this shell sign or shell word because I want it as a reference to make sure where my drips will reach. And then duplicate, go forward, and I'm gonna erase my older drawing and add new drops as if it disconnected. Again, duplicate, erase the old drips and make a closer one to my word, because I want this drip to finally hit the word. That's why I turned it on as a reference, just to know where to put my drips. So duplicate, erase the older drips and do new ones. So I'm gonna turn off here the drawing assist and drawing guide, because now I don't need it anymore. And now it finally hit the word. So I'm just gonna make the effect of hitting and just like flying drips, just because it hit the word. It's up to you, you don't have to do that, but I just felt this looked better. Now again, I'm gonna duplicate the final product, but now I don't need the drips anymore, so I'm gonna delete the layer and add the shell word that I got from Google again and rename it guide, because this will be my guide and you will see that in a minute. Now create a layer on top of the guide layer and make it a clipping mask. Go choose the color of the background, which is here white, and fill in shell, the entire thing. And the reason why we do that is because I want shell to be in my layers at all times, but I don't want it to be visible. So now when I merge it, I have shell but in white, so it's not visible. Create another layer, a clipping mask again, get the red color, and now when you fill it, because of the drips, it will only fill the shell word because it's a clipping mask. Do you get why we did that? If we didn't change the color of shell to white, it will be visible when we don't want it to look visible. And now again, smaller changes at first and then bigger changes as you move forward. Here we are moving forward because we don't have a final product. Again, we're making or we're drawing the final product. So it's easy to know if you have to move forward or backwards. Just if you have the final product and you want to reach it, you go backward, duplicate, go backward, and choose your layer. But if you are drawing the final product, you move forward, duplicate, choose your layer, and draw your final product, which is what I'm doing here. Now, of course, there's another way to do this, which is erasing and moving backwards as we were doing. I just wanted to show another way. So without any clipping mask, you can just insert this shell word at the final product and duplicate, go back a layer, and just erase until you reach the drips, which is the same thing we've been doing at first. I just wanted to show another method because sometimes you are afraid that you want to draw your final product but you're afraid it won't be accurate. So using a clipping mask, you will make sure that it will be accurate. So it's up to you. Alright, that's it. If you found that useful, please let me know in the comments, subscribe, like, all the good stuff, and you can send me your animation if you tried it with me. I'm Judy, thanks for watching.